Okay, so I'm back with Candace Owens today. You guys, you just can't make this stuff up. So, Candace had this man, Michael Lamont, on her show, the Candace Owens Shows, and they got into a discussion about transgender. And you guys really need to hear this man's response. I feel like black males, a lot of them really want to be women so bad, and it's so obvious. Candace pretty much said how I feel when she was talking to this guy, and this should not be a debate. This should not even be a topic of discussion, because the fact of the matter is that women are women and men are men. It doesn't matter how much makeup you wear. It doesn't matter how many wigs you wear. It doesn't matter how many surgeries you have. A woman is a woman biologically because she's born with a vagina and can have babies, and a man is a man. He has a penis and he can impregnate a woman. I don't even know what to say. This whole topic of transgendered people, especially men, and it's really men in particular who always want to put themselves, these transgendered men, they want to put themselves in women's spaces and try to co-opt what it is to be a woman. No, you don't get to do that. You weren't biologically born a woman, and you don't get to be a woman. You can be a trans woman, but you don't get to be a woman because you're not biologically, and that's just a fact, and this is not a debate. I'm gonna link the whole interview at the bottom, but this guy actually said that men can have babies. Of course, he meant transgendered, but the fact that that even came out of his mouth is just ridiculous. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys listen to this interview and listen to this clip, and I'm going to link it below. And, what is your opinion on it? And before I go, I just want to say I don't have anything against transgendered people, but, you're not a woman and you're not a man. You're a transgender.
To ask you, as a last topic about the LGBTQRSTUVWXY&Z agenda.
The agenda? That sounds so nefarious.
It is agenda. When you start, trying to get policies placed into school that allows teachers to call your child by a different gender, and as a parent, they're not required to tell you. They could be calling your little boy Samantha all day at school, and they don't have to tell you. That's an agenda, right? When you start trying to systemize it, to make it systemic, it becomes an agenda. And when you see how vicious that lobby has become, particularly the trans, I've said, you had me at the LGB, lost me at the T.
Why the T?
The T, because that's when you started telling people they were bigots because they don't want to play the crazy game. So here's my point. I think trans is a mental disorder. I think there's tons, gender dysphoria is a mental disorder. There's tons of mental disorders out there. There are people that walk around down the street and think they are Superman. Think they have powers and they can fly and they're Batman. And I would never want to see that person attacked. I grew up in a family where one of my uncles had severe mental disorders and thought he was Indian from a tribe or something, kind of got it because he was in solitary confinement for too long and he actually went crazy in prison. So I've always been sensitive to people that have mental disorders. But when you start saying in society that you now have to pretend that Candace's uncle is an Indian, and if you don't, acknowledge him as Pocahontas, then you're a bigot, that's wrong. Now you're putting the pressure on me to not just be, accepting of this, but now to play the crazy game and to say, if you mispronounce and you don't call him Chief Pocahontas, then you're a bigot. I don't play that game. I'm going to live in reality. You cannot live in reality. You can say how you feel. You can say what you think you see. You can say that you think that, we're on Mars right now, but I'm not going to pretend that I see Mars because it makes you more comfortable.
So I would, obviously I disagree. And what's interesting is there are people, you say you're with the L and the G and the B. There are people who, 30 years ago would have made the exact same arguments against you for the L, the G, and the B. They would have said that there's scientific data, that these are people who have mental disorders we have to do a few things. For me, I think the easy part, and this is the part I think you and I agree on, is that we have to accept, and we should accept people as they present themselves in the world, right? Like if someone says my pronouns are, if I told you my pronouns were she, her, you would address me as she and her, right?
No, I wouldn't.
Really?
No, I would call you Mark.
Okay, but you wouldn't call me he.
No, because I mean, I would call you Mark. If that was something that made you comfortable. But if I saw you,
if I said my name was Jane, would you then call me Jane?
If that was your legal name, yes.
But you don't want to call me by my legal name.
Yeah, I call you by your legal name. I don't have an issue with that. But I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to change what these established pronouns for male and female because you say, I'm Mark and here I am presenting.
What do you? So I really want to ask you. I'm genuinely curious about this. But first, let me just say, I think that. One, this isn't a case of someone thinking there's something that they're not. What people are saying is that there is a misalignment between my sex and my gender.
Disorder.
No.
My mind and my body don't match. That's a disorder.
That doesn't make it disorder. It just means that the world may be more diverse than we've previously understood it to be, whether we see it in plants, whether we see it in animals. There's all kinds of complexity, and we look in history. I mean, even we go back to the continent of Africa, we look in Asia. There's all kinds of examples of people who have complicated gender performances and complicated understandings of gender, and how we perform gender can be different.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my question for you would be, why, if someone identifies as, particularly someone who you engage with, say it's a colleague at work or whomever, a family member, whomever, if they say, look, I prefer to be called she and her, and I no longer want to be identified by this name, why not just honor that?
If you changed your name, I will honor it.
But why not? I mean, I'm sure you call people by nicknames. I'm sure you grew up in a black neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know you know somebody named Peanut, right?
Yeah.
Right. You don't say, well, that's not your legal name. Your mama named Joe. I'm gonna call you Joe.
No, I'm saying if a name is one thing, but if you're asking me to change pronouns, I'm not going to do that. Because these are established pronouns. You're asking me to now change the English language, right? We know why we call female, she, her, girl, woman. Okay, these are words that have meanings. These are words that have meaning. So this is a book, right? So could you call this is a book and this is a mug? Could you call this a book and call this a mug? Yes, you could do that if you want to change it. But words have meanings, right? So now if I switch it and you say, well, this mug wants to be called the book, it's a mug. Just a mug. This is the word we've established for mugs. This is the word we've established for books. So you're asking me to change the actual meaning of words to accommodate you. I'm not going to do that.
No, it's not a request, though.
It is. Because not only is it a request, you can now get in trouble in certain states for misgendering someone.
The request of the trans community is not that I'm actually a man, but I want you to pretend I'm a woman. The argument of the trans community, which I agree with, is no, I am a woman. And so I want you to refer to me as a woman.
You're not a woman. So that's the problem. So this is what I say is now you've asked me to take on your mental disorder, right? So I am okay with the fact, the argument from my uncle who thinks he's a Native American from a certain tribe is that this is what he thinks. He thinks, but he's not. Okay, so I'm not. Then to say to me that argument is valid because he thinks it. No, just because you think something doesn't make it real. Okay.
But that's exactly what gender is. Gender is exactly about an experience and a performance and a social construct.
It's not a social construct. Stop saying a social construct. To say that words don't have meaning and they're socially constructed means nothing, and I'll tell you why.
They are.
But you say that, but then let me guess.
This was always a book.
Okay, so then you know what it is? Our entire discussion about Black America meant nothing. There's no such thing as racial injustice. You see what I did there? Because black is a social construct.
Yeah, but we live in a social reality. So within that social reality...
It can't be both, Mark. So you either think that the gender wage gap is BS, that feminism is wrong, and that racial disparities are all BS because everything's a social construct. You're either going to go full postmodernist and say nothing is real and it's all made up, or you're going to acknowledge that there are some hard, concrete truths. If there are hard, concrete truths, you and I are black, okay? That's not going to change because we wake up and we decide, you know what, today I'm white and it's just how I feel, and today I'm Chinese. No. You and I are black, okay? We are acknowledged as black people. We're sitting down as black people. I am a woman. You are a man, okay? Now, if I want to wake up tomorrow and say I'm a man, you want to say you're a woman, and we want to play the crazy game, we can do that. To then say all of society now is to pretend that it was all a social, no, it was a social contract. You were born a male. I was born a female.
Yes, that's a fact.
We are black, okay? It's a color, though. Black is it's a word that we use to say a sex. Female is a word that we use that has a meaning. It means you are born with a vagina. You can have children. You have a uterus. When you are a male, you are born with a penis. You can get a woman pregnant. These words have real meanings. We cannot suddenly get into society where there are no truths.
So to acknowledge a social construct does not mean that we ignore biology, and it doesn't mean that we don't have.
Can men get pregnant?
Depends.
That person was born a woman. I can tell you that every single time because only women can have sex because there are concrete truths about life. Can have babies, pardon.